Fix someone else's stuff. Shazam, here we are. We're live. There's already people here. That's a good sign. Folks, welcome to another episode of the Ask Me Anything call, the Ask Us Anything call. Myself and Magic, Emily Middleton. We will be here for the next hour or so, and we're here to answer your questions, anything that's LifterLMS related, obviously, but then, in some cases, WordPress stuff too, or marketing or whatever. So anyway, we just want to jump straight out, welcome you to the call, let you know that if you're with us today, what you're going to want to do if you want to communicate with us in this little space is, wow, all the banners are shut down. Let me, let's expand that. There we go, is you want to ask us questions in the chat. So questions in the chat is the way to communicate with us. If you're new to LifterLMS and you hear us talking and you go, dang, I should probably try that out. You can go to lifterlms.com/try. That gives you access to a $1 30-day trial that has all of our add-ons and everything is in it, right? So it's a fully populated website. It's hosted for you. It's got sample content in it. And so you're able to see an LMS like the way it should work, right? Like, hey, what is the possibility that I could build something pretty cool? And then last but not least, we do have a 55% off code here, lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, /AMA-gift. And I was hesitant on whether I wanted to say it on this call or not, but I don't want to wait till next week, because if we wait till next week, we'll be saying it'll be too close to make the call, I think. What do you think, Emily? Should we talk about the sale?
Yeah.
All right. Are you familiar with the sale or no?
Nope, not at all.
All right. Well, there's another lifetime deal coming.
Oh shit. There we go. Once again.
So there's another lifetime deal coming. It's July 1st through the 3rd. I might be jumping the gun here, but I'm looking at the calendar, and if we wait till next week, I think it's too late to talk about it next week. And so, folks, if you like what you hear, if you've been watching this for a while and you're like, I've got to get, in on a deal, right? Like, some people are hooked on deals. I personally am a sucker for a lifetime deal. So keep your eyes out, look for details from us. There will be a lifetime deal on the LifterLMS Infinity Bundle. It'll be next week between July 1st and July 3rd. So it's only for 72 hours. We don't do these things often. I always say we don't do this often, and then it seems like I'm making another announcement about doing a lifetime deal, right? But we've got one coming up July 1st through 3rd. If you are a potential player, you want to pay attention. All right. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to be too much of a salesperson on a call where we're supposed to be offering people help. But the other side of the coin is this. I'm looking at comments and I don't see any questions yet. So tell me about your week, Emily.
I have been custom coding nonstop. I have been doing like a little bit of yoga, but I have been just like working my butt off. I have so many invoices to send and things to do. And to make it even worse, the retinol cream I use is almost out, and this is Korean, so I can't find any more on Amazon. So I'm really running up against the gun here to get the timing right for this.
All right. Well, I don't know what retinol cream does. I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Oh, it's like a wrinkle skin thing, like a skin rejuvenation.
Okay. Okay. See, I'm less scared now. Now we're good. Just put some Preparation H under your eyes. That'll take care of it. It shrinks swollen tissue. It's what it says on the outside of the tube.
I wake up tomorrow and my eyes will be like 50% reduction in water weight.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Yeah, no. I just, I go for the obvious. We do have Debbie Ward with us. Debbie Ward says, Badoom. Here we go. Hi. New here, just got the free version and am testing it. Great. Have done a test course with 3 lessons, loads of questions, but the first one is that I can't figure out how on the student page to have the course lessons show up. I only see 1 lesson. Depends on your hosting sometimes, Debbie, but sometimes what you expect to see on the front end doesn't show up on the front end when you first do an install, and it might be your permalinks. So there's permalinks, and then there's also the idea that when you are building in LifterLMS, you are building a dynamic website. So you are building something that you see one version, the visitor sees a version, and the student sees a version. So knowing that you have, basically 3 different views to consider, there's that, plus there's the way that you build the access plans. So there's a lot going on in this question. It would be really cool if, like, I don't know, you gave us a little bit more detail. But what do you think, Emily? Do you want let's do this for people that are new, and for people that it is an issue, whether this is the issue for Debbie or not. Can you do a screen share of just flushing permalinks and what that is?
Yeah, so if I share this window. So flushing permalinks, you go to settings, permalinks, and then click save changes at the bottom.
Yeah, it really is just that easy.
Yeah, you it'll trigger any rewrite rules in WordPress or in plugins that you have. So if you've installed LifterLMS groups, for example, and you have the new /groups option available as a URL and it's not working, you might want to come flush your permalinks. It resets the rewrite rules, and you are in. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. And I've noticed it happens. Like, for instance, I don't know. I've used 20i. I've used other tools, and not a problem. When I was on Bluehost, was a problem, right? So I've noticed in certain areas it can have to do with hosting, but when you install LifterLMS, you want to go at, just as a best practice, and flush the permalinks. The other thing to consider is the idea of the site being dynamic. And so if you create a course and you want to, like, restrict viewing of that course to visitors and students, you would have an access plan. And so if you went to see that course on the front end of the website, logged in as the administrator, you would see the course because the admin sees everything. But the visitors would see an access plan, right? Like, you can access this with this access plan. And then students, if students are enrolled, they wouldn't see the access plan. They instead would see the course, right? And have access to the course. And Debbie says, sure, that makes sense. Sure, that makes sense. Hey, Kevin says, try United Remedies from the UK. I guess for retinol cream.
Yeah.
We are a multifaceted show here. We're going to go down everywhere. I want to talk about guns. Just me. Debbie says it makes sense. Debbie says, thanks, I will try that. Debbie says, I am looking to move my online school from another platform to Lifter. I am on GoDaddy WordPress. GoDaddy can be a challenge, but GoDaddy can also serve a website pretty decently too, right? So I just got to be honest about that. Some of the stuff in the back end of GoDaddy, as an agency owner, someone that helps other clients, I usually pull people off of GoDaddy just because I don't like dealing with some of the junk in the back. But it does serve a lot of websites. So I would flush the permalinks, and I would be interested in what you're going to move from another platform to Lifter, because if you already have an online school, let's say you're in LearnDash, just guessing, maybe you're in LearnDash. So if you're in LearnDash on WordPress and your course is big, like let's say you have a lot of content to move, then you have the option to use a tool called Transfer from Honors WP. Transfer will help you kind of like automate the process, right? It'll say, let's identify the course, let's identify the students, let's identify the progress from those students, and it can migrate everything from LearnDash to Lifter. And I think it's like $150 or something. I can't remember the exact price of that, but the idea that you could pay that, use that tool, and move everything over Does it take some work? Do you have to, QC the results and stuff? Absolutely. But it really is kind of cool and helping move things over. If you have a smaller course, a course with 10 lessons, blah, 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 and you can, copy and paste things over. Sometimes that, quite honestly, is just the most direct route to success. And so sometimes that works for folks. Debbie says, sure, makes sense. She says, ha, ha, ha. She's been there for almost 20 years, so not moving. 20 years on GoDaddy. It's another one of those. All right. And then Kevin says he's on SiteGround. Apparently, we're having a collection of hosts we took off the recommended resources page. Kevin, don't panic. The joke came at your expense, but the joke wasn't on you. SiteGround had some type of caching issue or something that prevented it to work really well with advanced videos, one of the add-ons from LifterLMS, and so we took it off of the. But I mean, hosting the site and stuff, no big deal, right? Debbie says she's on Teachable. Teachable. I'm trying to think of the last person I helped with Teachable. It was a long time ago. I'm sure they've made some changes since. I have a background in Moodle and custom LMS platforms for corporate use, Debbie. So I'm used to having to run SCORM content and things like that. And that was one of the things that attracted me originally to LifterLMS was how can I save a ton of money and how can I still run some of the more complicated things like SCORM content and things like that. And so that's what brought me there. Kevin says he started with GoDaddy back in 1984. I didn't know GoDaddy was around in 1984. All right. And then going to have to move it all by hand, 30 courses. You got some work to do, Debbie. You got some work to do. That's a commitment. I would be interested, like if someone has 30 courses in Teachable, what was the major motivation to go from Teachable to LifterLMS? That's kind of the thing. Like, what was the major motivation? What was it about Teachable where you said, I just can't do this anymore. I got to get off of this thing. And then you found LifterLMS and you're like, I think I'm going to try Lifter. It would be really cool to hear your feedback on that, right? She says, welcome to my world. That's why I'm here today. Yeah, you got a lot going on there. They did. So I saw where Teachable had a free plan and they went away from the free plan and now everything's a paid plan, but I didn't realize all of the rates were tripled. I didn't realize they had done that much of a shift. That's one of the fears of working with a SaaS platform, SaaS, software as a service, SaaS. SaaS, once you get locked into that walled garden, if you're in Kajabi, Teachable, Podia, let's just be honest, like LinkedIn Learning, right? If you Udemy, if you get locked into these platforms and you invest a lot of time and labor into building something in someone else's platform, there is the danger of, hey, they're going to change policy. They're going to change, they're going to get bought by, let's just say they get bought by investors. Well, the investors are like, how do we make more money on this thing? And the easiest way to make more money on this thing is just charge people that are already super invested in it more to use it. And a lot of people don't have the stamina, the energy, or the oomph to move, right? So they'll just say, oh, well, it might be triple the expense for this, but we already have an existing model, right? And so it's very hard for people to move from SaaS to something else. Here's where the message about WordPress really comes in. WordPress is open sourced. And I bring that up because the last couple of talks that I've given in person at organizations, a lot of people didn't know what WordPress was, and then they didn't understand that it was open sourced either. And so, like when you're on Teachable, Podia, Kajabi, Squarespace, Shopify, when you're on those platforms, you're on those platforms. Like you're not only using their software and their playground, but you're in the whole thing. They're doing the hosting, the whole thing. With WordPress, it's open sourced, and then you decide where you're going to host it. Like we were kind of poking fun at GoDaddy and SiteGround here just a moment ago, but you're locked. With the SaaS, you're locked into what they offer, what they provide. Wix, you're locked into where it's at. Like you don't say, oh, this Wix site's too slow, I'm going to put it on Cloudways. Like that's not your option. Whereas with WordPress, you can start out on GoDaddy, you can start out on Bluehost, you can start out on some of these things and then go, you know what? My project's getting bigger and it's starting to slow down. I need better hosting. And so you say, okay, well, GoDaddy, what package do you have that's better? And they'll upsell you. They'll put you on a faster package. Or you go up, I've outgrown that. So now where am I going to go? You know, and then maybe you go to Rapid Hosting. We just did a podcast with LifterLMS and Rapid, right? And so Rapid has like these really cool packages available with all kinds of scale, and they're really more transparent about like how many PHP workers do you have in your hosting program. These are terms you've never heard if you're on a SaaS platform because they're not telling you, right? But with WordPress, it's open source and you're able to put it wherever you want, get the details about what your hosting package includes, and go for the thing that matches you best, right, for your needs. And unfortunately, when you get into LMSs and community sites and larger scale e-commerce websites, you are looking at packages that are more server hungry. And so when you put a lot of concurrent users in with server hungry tools, you're going to notice that, yeah, you do need better hosting. So, you know, sometimes it's real attractive to start something up and think, oh, I could get hosting for $5 a month. But then over time you realize, oh, I need to be paying $25 or $30 a month, or I need to do on $50, $60 a month. And some of the other hosting packages do the maintenance for you. Well, they'll upgrade your plugins and stuff on a monthly basis. And so maybe you pay a little bit more, but then you don't have to babysit the website as much and you just focus on running the business. So that's kind of cool. Debbie says, yeah, it's crazy. Started with them in 2021. So I think that's started with Teachable, I think, in 2021. Yep, and it's a pain to look into moving. I'm looking to Lifter because I understand it integrates well with Active Campaign. Active Campaign with different tools, absolutely, right? So if you're using like Uncanny Automator or WP Fusion or something like that, yeah, you can do a lot. You can do automations and all kinds of different things. I got to get closer on a WordPress site and been building websites since 1994. Yeah, it makes you feel old, right? When you say, yeah, I started this back in the 1900s. Makes you sound old. Emily, did you start building things in the 1900s?
No, I wasn't even beginning being built myself in the 1900s. I was born after 9/11. I I like I'm part of the new world.
Part of the New World Order.
Right.
Oh my goodness. So many things are running through my head today. All right. I would be probably less sarcastic if I didn't have my own website falling apart in the background today. Of course, you know, I started a stupid project thinking, oh, I'll just knock this out before I jump on a series of lives. This won't take barely any time. And what happened was I just got more curious. Like I kept going deeper. I kept going down the rabbit hole. I got my page speed up to almost a 90 before it broke. I was really proud of myself. I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, I was like, oh my goodness, I have this like hugely dynamic website, right? And it's getting a fair amount of traffic now. I'm like, oh man, and I got my web speed up to like a 90. I was like, I wonder if I can get like 95, 96. Because you see these people posting this crazy stuff on X, and I thought, I could get there. And then I was like, and then I did a page speed test and it was like over 90. And I was like, oh wow. And then I went and looked at the site and everything was broke. I was like, well, no wonder it's so fast. Nothing displays.
Yeah. So what happened with the images? Like, so the images is when it broke?
I think, yeah, that's when it got stressed out and said, I've had enough of this nonsense. But I have so much stuff in my media bin and it started converting things to WebP and stuff like, so I'm wondering if I put a backup in. So if I load the backup, and this is all theory at this point, right? If I load the backup in place and make sure everything works again, boof, right? So that's the most important part. Does the website even work? Even if it's slow, does it work? Right? So maybe I get it up and it's slow again. So I put that in. I think what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to go through that process and I'm going to get to like the 76 mark, right? Like I know that I safely increased the speed to a 76 score. So I'll get to that 76 part and then I'm going to back it up again, but a fresh backup at 76 instead of fresh backup at a slower speed. So then I'm going to get to that and I'll back it up. So I have it. So I know that I'll get that far. And then, because if you try to do this stuff on a staging website, your staging site's never as fast as your production site anyway. So when I'm trying to do the page speed stuff, I want to be on production. But now, of course, I've broken my site on production on the day that I'm committed to do all these live shows. So I can't even fix it right away. I got to fix it later. So don't go look at my website today. It's a freaking mess. So I'm going to save it at it's like 76 speed. I already said that. Then the next time I optimize images, I'm not going to turn on the feature that makes them WebP. I think something broke there. I've done that before with WebP stuff on different websites and had all kinds of things go wonky. And I'm not sure what that does. I don't know if it screws with the padding or what it does. But there were some PNG image features in the formatting of my site through a template. And I think when it resized the image, I think it really messed up the spacing. And then it just threw a bunch of code up on the forward facing side of the site instead of actual text and images. It got angry. So
as you approach light speed, it begins to fall apart.
Well, yeah, and I have a lot of junk in there. Like here's just a really good example. I had the Conversio. People that probably don't even remember what that is. Conversio is like think prior to our version of AI now, it was like an automated chatbot, right? A pre-programmed automated chatbot. I turned that off and my page speed went up like 9 points. Right. And then I'm like, well, how many people actually, so I had to do the math. How many people use the chatbot? I get like one or two leads a month through that. Is it worth giving up 1 or 2 leads to have the website go faster? Well, I have a contact page and I have other lead sources in the site. So how much of the leads I get through my website were from that versus how much better would the site be if it served faster, right? And so I turned that off, boom, got those speed points right away. And so there's things like that where I'm going to say, okay, that's outdated. It doesn't really apply anymore. I'm going to turn that off and then I'll get a faster result. And so, yeah, I'm just going to have to load up a backup of the site and then start over and make smarter decisions. But that's why having a backup is so important. You know, like when we're doing this thing and we tell people, oh, you should do that on a staging site. You should you back up your website, launch a staging site, experiment the staging site, and then duplicate in production. The only reason I didn't follow all those steps today is because I was like, I'm changing something and then doing a speed test, changing something and then doing a speed test. And like I said, staging is never as fast as production. So I didn't want to waste my time looking at bad information.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for backups.
Definitely.
Oh, here we go. Serious question. Do you guys have some sort of one-on-one support so I can dial in more on what I'm trying to do? Debbie, that is a mixed question. Debbie, that is a yes or a no answer. If you have the Universe or the Infinity bundle, you have access to a weekly call that we do called Office Hours. That's right. So we do the Office Hours Mastermind call. We do that an hour after this call is done. So that's 2:00 Central Time for me, 3:00 East Coast Standard Time. That is a shared Zoom call. So people that get that invitation, they come and it's kind of a group think, right? We will work on things, fix things. We'll walk people through things. We'll do all kinds of stuff on those group calls. So that's like really good. That's a really great example of live support to get you to the next step of something. We have an unbelievable amount of tutorials and video content and a knowledge base, the Academy on our LifterLMS website. That's the fantastic resources to say, oh, how do I do this? XYZ. Boom. You can find it like a resource. But if you want one-on-one like Zoom training to build your project, I would have to direct you probably to the experts page. So lifterlms.com/experts. I can put that link into the chat. Yeah, I guess I'll put it to all the things, right? So that is https lifterlms.com/experts. Okay. And so there's a ton of experts in there. And typically people are going to hire an expert to do something. Like you would say, oh, I want to take these 30 courses and put them in this new website, and I want each course to have this access plan, and I'll build the homepage, the about us page, and the contact page. I'm going to hire you to build the courses. Like, boom, that's a total thing. You could totally hire someone to do that. You could also look for people in there like Emily, like myself, like maybe Dale, maybe Chris Lassiter. I'm trying to think of some names. I think Susie Webb is still in there. If Susie Webb is in there, she's fantastic. And you would say, hey, what I really want is I have 30 courses to move. I want to hire somebody that will walk me through some things, like on a Zoom call, and train me, like maybe move a course and show me some details about the inner workings of Lifter, and do that in that way. And if that's the case, if that's kind of what you want, there are people on that list that can help you in that way. You have anything else you want to add to that?
I've heard Susie Webb's retiring. I've got a client from her who's on like a retainer thing. But yeah, the experts page is a great place to go for one-on-one support. I know that's like a lot of what my time is occupied by when I'm not doing custom coding or searching for retinol cream on the internet, is these hourly Zoom calls with clients, just doing anything on the website, speed, building, design, marketing, all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of the people on there are super well versed, especially in LifterLMS. It's a good community, so it's a good place to go. Also, the Facebook group. The Facebook group, you'll find some people who are like maybe a little more active too, a little more instantly responsive.
Yeah, there's a couple people in the Facebook group that are quick to answer and offer you a quick call. That quick call, I think, turns into a sales session. But yeah. But there's people there. Delphine says, good morning, British Columbia. Sorry I'm late. Well, Delphine, you don't have to worry about being late. You're not an employee. We're just here. We're here for you. You're not here for us, basically, right? So it's great to see you, though. Awesome that you come and hang with us almost every week. Compass, do you recommend having media uploaded to AWS or Google Drive or different hosting than direct into WordPress? Well, Compass Rose Consulting, this is a mixed question for sure. Let me just be like real direct. For video, I don't like to put video on my website basically at all. Like even short stuff. It's like, it just seems to bog everything down. I like to put my video, I have video hosting offsite, but typically we're going to recommend YouTube, Wistia, or Vimeo. Like a lot of the tools that are built for LifterLMS are built around those three providers, right? So Wistia, Vimeo, or YouTube. There's also the option of bunny.net. Bunny.net is substantially cheaper than Vimeo or Wistia. And if you use Presto Player, because now I got to confuse the answer. If I use Presto Player, I can get some of the features in Lifter built for like Vimeo, but to work with my bunny.net videos. And so I've set some customers up in that way. But you're setting up multiple tools to do a special thing. And it does work. So video I don't do. As far as like a PDF, an ebook, help me, Emily, help me with something. Different things that you put in your media bin. I put them in the media bin and I link to them.
Yeah, you can put MP3s if they're light enough.
MP3s, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yep. I put a ton of junk in my media bin. And the thing to remember, if we're talking about page speed and servability, things like that, if the front end of my website, what some people call front of paywall, if that's doing the marketing stuff, I'm not serving up audio files and PDFs and all that stuff in my marketing material. Like I can cache those pages, they can serve quickly, they can do things that you think a website should do, right? If somebody has gone through the paywall, they've made the commitment, they've bought the course, and they're in lesson 4 and they go to download an MP3 and it takes 30 seconds, that's not going to cause them to quit and ask for their money back, right? So I'm really specific about like, let's get real world and think about the user experience and what we want to do here. If I'm not real big on serving stuff through AWS or Google Drive, because I think that just adds too many more options for things for connections to break and things not to work. If I can simply add things to the media bin and link to them and they're all within my hosting, I feel much more confident. The only thing I really move away from the site is video. Do you object to anything I said, Emily? Because you might have a different view.
Yeah, I usually recommend thinking about the file size. So if you have like a background video that's like hovering in the background of your website, like I know that was a big thing in like 2015 was hero areas that had a video thing. That thing could be like a 480 wide video, so it's like super low quality. And if you're hovering under like 3 megabytes, I think you could get away with throwing that in the media bin. I just I would, for a perfectly optimized website, you should offload every single piece of media to an AWS server or some kind of service offloaded. There's a plugin called WP Offload Media where you can have your plugin, your files all loaded from AWS, DigitalOcean, or another server. So all your website has to worry about loading is JavaScript and HTML and running PHP. So it's like super fast. And then it loads in media from storage containers built to send to media. But it's not practical for most WordPress users. So you got to look at what's practical for your scale. Like I've brought a lot of clients, usually when they cut above 7 figures in revenue, and they have like a ton of MP3s and a ton of photos, and they're trying to optimize their speed and everything, but they have like a lot of sales pages because they have like 40 courses in every category. We're like, okay, we even need to get images out of your media bin. So it's practicality, I think.
It's interesting that you say that, because if you go to I'm going to give him a shout out. I think he's pretty smart for what he does. You know, Spencer Foreman with WP Launchify.
Yeah.
Right? He was doing a thing. Oh, I want to say I'm going back like 3 months now, so I have to remember this. But he basically, all of his media is like in a one media directory file in a server. And then that giant repository of media he uses to populate his other projects. And then everything kind of serves quickly. But like he's got it all set up. He's got all these intertwined links where he'll be like, add a picture from this server to this, like everything just comes over. It makes his other websites faster. But I think about the average person setting that up. I mean, if I'm just being honest, we deal with a lot of people just getting started that struggle with the idea of having a media bin, let alone a media bin tied to another server that shares its images with 5 other media bins. I think it just adds too much complexity. And for the difference in page speed, I don't think the aggravation's worth it for most startup projects.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a hard way to say that. Kevin Clooney. Kevin Clooney. I bet you everybody screws up his name. I bet you everyone calls him Clooney. That's I'm sorry, Kevin. Now I'm no better than anyone else. Do you use local to stage local testing? Look at you nodding your head. I'm not even looking right at you. I just see your head bobbing up and down on the screen there, Emily. I know you're a fan of local. I have used local, and then here's the truth of it. I've got a really good hosting plan, and I can just spool up sample crap whenever I want. And it's just easy for me. I just do it right. I just spool up something in my server and I play with it. And when I'm done playing with it, I just delete it. Yeah. Why do you like local so much?
I develop a lot of plugins, and so if I want to see my changes immediately and I want to use my VS Code on my computer to like have my I don't even have Copilot right now, but if I had Copilot AI, like helping read all my plugin files and help suggest me like correct methods and classes and everything that I'm like writing code with, um, I would make a change to a file on my local machine in my VS Code, reload my local website that's run by local. I do local by Flywheel. I used to do MAMP because I'm on a Mac, but I don't do that one anymore unless I'm trying to install Moodle or something on a local site for some weird reason. And so local by Flywheel, I can access the files directly and make changes and see what happens. So development.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all good stuff. See, I'm more of an implementer, and right now you're more in the developer space. What was your hesitation for getting Copilot?
It's just not always like Copilot's nice, but now that I know the coding standards a little bit better, it's not as necessary unless I'm doing a big project, and I should pick it up again because I'm doing a big project. But it's nice to be like um, suggested classes. So if I'm like trying to do something in LifterLMS groups, it knows all of the stuff going on in LifterLMS groups and can suggest to me like this might be what you're trying to do, and it's already a function that exists. This is how we can call it. My hesitation is that I just don't need it all the time, and it's like $20 a month or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So the people I know that use Copilot, one person said it in a way that really made sense to me. They said, I don't want to use AI to write a whole plugin. Like that's not my goal. I still want to be a professional. I still want to author plugins. I still want to, have my hands on the code. Right. And that to me is that's worth the price of admission just to hear another professional kind of hit that echo chamber for me, because I think a lot of AI is overspun. I think a lot of it is way overhyped. So, but when I talked to this particular individual, they said, "Oh, it's really cool. I can type in like the first 3 letters of what I'm going to do, and it writes like 400 lines of code based on that start of a prompt." And then I look and I go, that's what I would have written. So I don't have to type the 400 lines. It's there, and then I can either approve it or disapprove it, or I can continue writing my string, and that those 400 lines will change and flex. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of like it's kind of like intuitive interpretive text, like on your cell phone, trying to write a text message and it's trying to finish the sentence for you, except on a much bigger scale. So I'm kind of okay with that. I think it's weird that they call it Copilot, and then Microsoft wanted to call their entire AI platform Copilot.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. All right. Kevin says, yep, that's got to be because everyone mispronounces his name. Debbie left us. She said she had to go. She has to get on another call. That leaves us ready to talk about nothing. We got all these people in here watching live, and nobody's got any questions. Come on, folks. Come on. Step up. Don't be scared. What do you think is worth having a conversation about then? If we're not distracted by questions.
We have a conversation about how easy it is and how low-hanging fruit it is to install private coaching as a part of your offering, especially for early users.
I like that. That is, I think this is the point you're making, and if it's not, then feel free to correct me or redirect me. But the idea of one-on-one coaching, or the idea of implementing private areas, I think is super intimidating to a lot of people, and they don't realize, to your point, the low-hanging fruit and upsell potential of it.
Yeah. And it provides a lot of direction. If you're struggling to sell courses at scale, if you're not getting the amount of course sales per week you want, coaching can really help with that.
Yeah. It was so interesting. I was just on a show before this one, and they, of course, were talking about AI and all the normal highlight features that everyone wants to talk about. But what I brought up from the AI perspective, we were talking about like deep fakes in YouTube advertising and stuff like that. And I was like, well, yeah, it kind of sucks now, because you are forced as a consumer of content, you're forced to second guess everything you see. Like now, the mental energy of, is that a real person? Is that a real message? Does that really exist? Did that really happen? And like the example in the article we were talking about was like, there's an ad on YouTube for this for retirees running the shoe store, getting ready to shut down their shoe store. The whole story's made up. If you search the shoe store, it doesn't even exist. But there's like 500,000 people following this story now to see how this old couple's going to retire from their cobbler store, right? And it's not even a store. It doesn't even exist. And so it's that. And so my thought there is more and more people over time. So when we talk about website building and WordPress and AI, and we talk about all these cool things, we have to remember that that's a very small microcosm of the overall population. And the overall population is seeing things like shoe stores that aren't real on YouTube, right? They're seeing like news articles getting released, and then you have to go look up the facts from the news article, see if it's even a real thing. So like all of that is going to drive people more and more to want to have that one-on-one human connection. We're getting so used to in our consumer pathway of second guessing whether something's real or not, or if something is authentic, that more and more value is going to be driven by, one-on-one communication, human touch, human relationship. And so if you embrace the idea that you can have an evergreen course on your website that generates revenue and sales, that's what everybody wants, right? I want an evergreen course that I can sell over and over and over again that generates revenue for me. We all want that. But you can 10x that by offering one-on-one consulting on top of that course. Mm-hmm. So if someone wants to pay you $50 for a course, there's going to be a certain percentage of students that would pay the $50 for the course, but would also pay $500 for one-on-one consulting. And then you have to think about, what does that look like as that grows and scales? So as it grows and scales, your time, your one-on-one time becomes even more valuable. So if you get to 100 people that would pay you $50 for the course, and out of 100, 10 would pay you $500 for coaching, great. What does that model look like when you have 1,000 students? Well, if you have 1,000 students and 100 of them are willing to pay for one-on-one consulting, right? Can you do 100 one-on-one consulting clients? Maybe you can't. Maybe you need to charge $1,000, right? And maybe you just need to get 50 of them to pay $1,000. Maybe you need to get 25 of them to pay $2,500. Maybe you need to get 500 of them to be willing to pay $5,000. But you see where this is going. Your one-on-one personal relationship, the connection to you is the value. The content is like the introduction to you, if I'm saying this in the right way. So we all want evergreen, recurring income, what all the gurus say is passive income, which I really don't believe in. But we talk about this passiveness of our income. But in the long run, the connection to you is what people want. Like, I am not the genius in the WordPress space. There are so many people that are more popular or more knowledgeable than me in WordPress, but there's a certain group of people that want to hire me for training, consulting, whatever, right? And for that, I'm here. And that's where I make some of my revenue. You want to do a quick screen share of private areas? We've got some time.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because we just redid private areas too.
Yeah, there's some new features in here. So when it comes to private areas, what it provides you, right, is this private post section on the left-hand side. It provides us automations as well. We can talk about that in a minute. But basically, when you add a private post as a website admin, you can publish these to specific students and specific memberships. So you can say, hey, Kurt, coaching recap or coaching invite. However you want to structure this. This is like a post you're building with the WordPress block editor. And that's what's new to LifterLMS private areas, is the ability to use the block editor. So if you have a video replay, maybe you've uploaded it to Vimeo as a private video of a recording of our Zoom session, so you could review it. You can drop that right into the private coaching area. You could also say, like, here's a button to book another call, and then send people out to Acuity Scheduling or Calendly or whatever you're using for booking these coaching calls with you. You could even get more advanced and have an integration with like a WooCommerce product or a SureCart product where they can pay in advance for a coaching session and simply link book another call to that product purchase where they will then be able to book another session. So your booking tool and your commerce tool to accept payments for these calls can be variable. I know right now I'm a part of a membership through LifterLMS, and how it works with private coaching is that they charge me monthly for a membership. So it's a recurring monthly membership. With that recurring monthly membership, the coach is automatically putting on my calendar 4 calls. And so I get a recap via private areas each time we have a call. And in that recap, we have screenshots from the call, things we talked about in bullet point lists. They have like a framework. They'll dump it into a private area and publish it for me. So here's maybe notes from our call. Whatever you want to include, there's so many options here about how to get started with ... next steps for ... And we could show how to build this out in a little more of a robust way. Like, what would you want to include? If anyone's curious, what would you want to include in a private area to make it the most effective thing possible? And how would you want to sell it? But once you're happy with your private post, we can display it for a student in a course. So we can select maybe the Academy membership, and then we can find somebody who's in the Academy membership. We'll just say Arthur Wells. That's who I'm logged in now. Hi, Arthur. That's who it's being published for. I'm just publishing it for myself. But on the student's page, when they log into the website, they'll get a notification that a new private post has been published for you. They could click on that, but they can also see it on their dashboard. Right here, they can see the private posts available for them. And here it is. Notes from our call, where to book another call. And if I had decided to embed a video, that would appear here as well. You can also set up automations, which is really cool. So automations are similar to that private post option. If I add new automation, this is like welcome to the course. Add a new private post. This does not allow us to use the WordPress block editor, the private post, but we can build little, hey, welcome to the course, book your call here. Free coaching intro here. Calendly.com/book with me. So you'd have like your welcome to the course, book your free coaching call here. You could have a private post title, welcome to the course, whatever you want that to be. And we can publish that automation. And the cool thing about automations is that they can trigger automatically. There can be a series of posts that go out at stagnated times. So you can send one immediately when a student signs up. You could wait a day and send them another one. But you use the engagement system in LifterLMS to trigger these. So you would start a private post automation. And so you can say when a student creates a new account, start a private post automation, and then we select welcome to the course. And this is almost like a sales funnel within your website. It does require students to log into your website in order to see these private posts. It's not going to go out to their email inbox. It usually does have a notification that goes out to their email inbox, but they have to click on that and come to the website to see the messaging. So it's like an internal inbox system, which could be used for so many purposes, but private coaching is one of them.
Yeah. And then Compass Rose Consulting responds with, can private areas be turned off for some courses and on for others? Is it controlled at course level only or at membership level as well? And how would you describe that? Because I struggle sometimes in getting people to understand how to initiate a private areas conversation. And some people think it's like they can turn, like once it's open, the student can respond to it as long as it's open.
Yes. Yeah. You can enable or disable commenting. That's not something I talked about, but there's a little checkbox that says the student can comment or the student can't comment. Mostly we want them to be able to comment because these are going to be our highest paying clients, the people who are interacting with us the most. So It's pretty much on for all courses and memberships, but you don't have to send any notifications. Like you saw, I selected my engagement is relative to, I said student creates a new account, but I could say student enrolls in a course and it would ask me to select a specific course. So only specific courses or specific memberships could contain a private area automation. So students will only interact with private areas if they've been sent an automation, and either you did that manually as an admin or they enrolled into a course or membership that has an automation associated with it. So it is really selective per course or membership, even though it's like a universal plugin. It'll only trigger if they've received a message somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's important to know you could differentiate between students that just bought access to the course versus students that bought access to the course with coaching.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
different ways to set that trigger.
Right. There's like student purchased a specific access plan. So if you have like the same course has course enrollment for $100 or course and coaching for 1,000 and two access plans in the same course, the second access plan can trigger that upsell. So you don't even have to make another membership, don't even have to make another course. Just throw on an access plan to your existing courses that includes coaching, even at a very dramatically upsold rate, and then send them an automation to book with you. It's like something that could take like 20-30 minutes to deploy on your website, from installing private areas to setting up your access plan, and it's a huge value add for your business.
To me, it's huge, and because everyone's trying to overcomplicate their. I think that's almost like a fear of launch, right? Like, oh, I'm going to add this and that, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to, like, just slow it down, make it simple, right? You're going to offer somebody coaching. So do you want to do it through comments in private areas? Fine, right? You don't even have to get on camera with people. You can just comment back and forth, and that's one like a messaging communication channel, and all of the chats are stored in their dashboard. So it's all right there. So that's one way to look at it. The example that you used with Calendly was phenomenal, right? Because now you could say, hey, let's create this Calendly link and we're going to jump on a Zoom call. You haven't done anything extravagant in your website, right? You've just leveraged this third-party tool that's ubiquitous, that a lot of people are familiar with and easy with. It's going to launch a Calendly thing. We're going to launch on the Zoom call, boom. And you've already collected the money from the access plan. So you don't have to worry about integrating Stripe with your Calendly or your Zoom or it's already done. You've already collected the revenue through your site, and now you're just making good on what you've already sold. So that is really good. And so the question is, well, could I just send them? Do I need Calendly? Could I just do a Zoom link? You can do whatever you want. Like you can put whatever you want in that message. So I think it's really cool to work through some of that and see what it is that we offer people. I have a program where I do motorcycle dealership training, and I'll do group calls with people. And that's where the real energy is, right? Because then dealers start saying, well, we did this, and we did that. And I'm just there to facilitate that conversation. I'm trying to get people to communicate on these calls. And so in that effort for me, it works out really, really well. Like, hey, we're going to join this group call. Here's the Zoom link. Everybody jump on at 3 Eastern Standard Time. Done. And then people share, people learn, and people see value in it. And it's that value that drives them back to the site, back for more content, back for more knowledge. And that's where I think some of the value really comes in. Delphine says, I am not familiar with private areas. This discussion sounds really interesting. Thank you for presenting it. Delphine, just to be like super, super honest, I've always been intrigued by private areas. I thought it was a really cool thing Lifter had. But when they revamped it last year, and some of these features that Emily's gone through today with like the automations and different ways to tweak it and use it, I think it's really taken on a different life. Like it's to me, and maybe you feel different, Emily. Feel free to tell me I'm crazy. It was a nice to have before. Like I could do private messaging with people. And what I really used it for was clients that worked with youth, I like the idea that all the communication was in the site and it was all stored and all tracked, as opposed to like private texting or emailing, right? I thought it was a safer way to communicate with young folks. And that's where it filled that niche for me. But now, with its revamp from this year, I keep saying last year, but I think it was just revamped this year, right? It was just this year. I think it's a phenomenal tool now. I think it's really come into a life of its own.
Yeah, and I'm excited for. I pointed it out when it was released. I was like, you can't use the block editor on the automation ones. And they're like, oh, darn, we'll release that soon. So, darn, yeah, you really useful for private coaching. I think that's the biggest lever you have to find direction in your product, increase revenue, and just like hone in what questions your students are actually asking. If you have traffic coming to your website, but your conversions to your courses aren't happening the way you want them to, having one-on-one coaching and then using that to inform your curriculum, support your bottom line revenue, and then just contribute towards like the value that the course has, because even having an offer for coaching at like $1,000 makes your $500 course offer look better, because it's like, oh, why would I pay $500 for this course when I would be able to get like similar content on YouTube or a different course for cheaper? But then you look at the upsell to the coaching, and you're like, okay, well, now I'm thinking about it in terms of like the coaching is worth this amount of money. Like this person is selling the coaching for this amount of money, but I can get access to that information for this price. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know you talk a lot about that, Kurt.
Yeah, well, I'm trying not to bore people today. I was really surprised. I thought we were going to have more comments roll in today, but it's not for a lack of attendance. People are here. They just must, you know what? Now here's the deal. Let's finish this up. Maybe this is what's happening. Maybe you have come to so many of these calls that you're like, oh, I really just got to do this thing. LifterLMS.com/try. If you haven't already tried Lifter, this is one of the best ways to try Lifter. I have referred this tool in particular to people that have like downloaded the free plugin, and they message me and say, oh, I'm kind of struggling with this or struggling with that, or you know, it's hard to know what this is going to be like with students in it. That's like the biggest thing. It's hard to know what this is going to be like for the student journey. Well, here's a plan. Get yourself a demo site fully populated with sample content and sample students and sample courses, and you can get a really good idea of like, how is this set up? What should it look like? What should the user experience be? And the demo sites do a really good job of driving that home for you. The other thing is, and I mentioned this earlier, but I feel like we got to cover it again. Get your 55% off by going to LifterLMS.com/AMA-gift, LifterLMS.com/AMA-gift. And we've mentioned it earlier in the call, but we do have experts. So if you're in a space where you're like, I've got a ton of work to do and I'm just one person, hire somebody, right? LifterLMS.com/experts. I think one of the intimidating things about WordPress over a SaaS platform, right? Because we talked about this earlier in the show. SaaS is attractive because a lot of things are in place, like fill out this form to build this thing, right? And so it's like, oh, okay, so I don't have to build the thing. The thing's there. I just fill it out and put my information in. That's part of why SaaS is attractive to some folks, because it feels like with WordPress, the whole thing is DIY. Hire an expert. If you're like, man, I want something that is affordable, feature packed, I want this, I want that, but I just don't have the time to build this thing. You'd be surprised how affordable it is to hire an expert and make something happen. And then you can focus on building your business and doing what your strengths are, where someone else has their strengths, they're supporting you in the background. So maybe that's a good way to go. We do have a comment that rolled in. Delphine says, I come every week because you provide so much instruction that may not apply to our website, but which definitely adds to my knowledge. Both of you teach so well. Delphine, that's awesome. I'm so glad we were able to finish the call with something positive like that. Thanks for coming every week. I'm glad the value is here. Folks, we are going to hit ends. Is there anything you want to say before I hit the button, Emily?
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a killer week. We're out.